At the beginning of the film, scientists noticed a strange sphere near Mars. What was this sphere? What was it made of? Was it a threat to humans? To find out, NASA sent a team near Mars. The astronauts' journey took about 8 months, and when they were just a few hours away from their destination, Mars, they woke up from their sleeping pods. Among these crew members, we meet Carla, who is not only the main character of the movie, but also the in charge of the ship's AI system. Here, Carla notices that one of the crew members, Robin, is in an unusual state. She assumes that it might be because he was in a hibernation pod for the first time. Carla tells him to rest, and then gets back to her work. Meanwhile, the captain of the ship arrives and instructs Carla to use the AI system to scan the mysterious sphere near Mars. Although they were not far from it, Carla's AI system failed to detect any sphere near Mars, even though they could see it with their own eyes. Seeing this, Carla thinks that either the AI system is malfunctioning or there is nothing there. She suggests to Paul that they should turn back as there is nothing here. But Paul gets angry and insists that, whether there is something or not, they must complete their mission. Just then, a hologram appears. This is their mission head, who informs them that the entire world is eagerly waiting to know what the sphere is, and urges them to complete their mission as soon as possible. Carla had no choice but to follow orders, so she continued operating the mission. Suddenly, she hears her mother's voice, which shocks her because she knows that her mother and daughter died in a car accident. She starts looking for the source of the voice. Meanwhile, in Robin's room, we see that he wakes up screaming in fear. However, no one could hear his screams. When Carla returns to her room, she receives another call from her mission head, who asks her if something is wrong. As she seems disturbed, Carla responds that everything is fine. Just as they are talking, the AI system alerts Carla that the sphere near Mars has finally been detected. The sphere was now sending a powerful light beam toward their ship, which was damaging several systems on the ship. This frightens Carla and the crew. One of Carla's teammates suggests that maybe the sphere is guiding their ship. So instead of turning away, Carla continues moving toward the light beam. The AI system also detects that the beam contains not only light, but also numerous sound waves. Carla starts decoding the sound waves and finds the word Deus. In Latin, Deus means God, which makes them think that perhaps there is a god on the sphere. Suddenly, their AI system stops working again, causing panic among the crew. Some believe they should abort the mission, while others argue that it is their duty to investigate the sphere. Robin, who has now stepped out of his room, insists that they should not approach the sphere because he believes it is the end of the world. He fears that the god on the sphere will now judge his entire life, making him extremely anxious and terrified. Meanwhile, the ship's captain, Paul, is watching everything from his office. The crew members discuss what to do if the sphere does not contain a god, but is instead an alien structure. Should they destroy it? Hearing this, the captain quickly responds, "No one will harm the sphere." At the moment, the crew members were still discussing when one of them suddenly reported that Robin had disappeared from the ship. Everyone panicked and started searching for him. It was shown that Robin was sitting among several containers, holding lights above his head, as if performing a ritual. His hands were covered with religious symbols, and he was trembling. As soon as the crew approached him, he started screaming, pleading with them not to take the ship towards the sphere. He warned that something terrible would happen if they did. He also claimed that Paul was hiding something from them. Just as he finished speaking, Paul appeared from behind and, without hesitation, mercilessly shot Robin in front of everyone. The crew was shocked and horrified by Paul's actions, but he remained calm as if nothing had happened. Carla was also furious. She picked up Robin's knife and followed Paul, demanding answers. However, Paul refused to tell her anything, and instead placed Robin's body inside a hibernation pod. Carla was seething with anger, but Paul threatened her, reminding her that he was the captain and that it was their duty to follow his orders. Reluctantly, they complied and boarded a small ship designed to take them to the sphere. As they approached, Carla noticed strange structures on the sphere's surface, but couldn't understand what they were. Finally, their small ship landed on the sphere. As soon as they landed, they received a hologram message from their mission leader, who delivered shocking news. Many more spheres, identical to the one near Mars, had started appearing around the world. The mission leader urged the crew to quickly gather as much information as possible to determine whether these spheres were a threat to humanity and how they could be dealt with. Paul assigned Carla the task of stepping outside to investigate. However, one crew member suggested that an additional scientist and a volunteer should also accompany her. Paul agreed, and the three of them stepped out onto the sphere's surface. It was incredibly dark. so dark that they could barely see anything. When Carla touched the ground, she realized that it felt like ordinary soil. Just as she was speaking, a red light appeared in front of them, and a strange door began to open. As soon as it did, they heard an eerie sound. They were stunned. Normally, their vacuum suits should have blocked all external sounds, yet they could still hear it. Even inside the ship, Captain Poole could hear the sound. He translated it for them, revealing that the place was welcoming them. Then, they saw a shadow of a woman who was communicating with them telepathically. Paul translated the message, saying that these were the words of God. Despite everything humans had done to the world, God was willing to give them one last chance, a chance to live a peaceful and fulfilling life. Those who entered through this gate would find eternal peace, while those who remained on Earth would have to endure its hardships. God had chosen Carla to be the first to enter and lead others to this place. The woman explained that if people didn't willingly enter the gate, the spheres around the world would start killing humans in a painful manner. Suddenly, the woman transformed into Carla's mother, who told her that someone was waiting for her inside. Carla immediately realized that if this truly was heaven, then her daughter would be inside. She stepped forward and crossed the glowing door. As she did, a flashback showed the moment of her mother and daughter's fatal accident. Returning to the present, Carla found herself in an incredibly beautiful city, resembling Jerusalem. She now had fresh wounds on her forehead, as if she had been transported directly from the moment of the accident to this place. Carla's daughter was there, running toward her. Carla, filled with emotion, ran forward to embrace her. But just before they could hug, Carla suddenly regained consciousness. She was shocked and confused, finding herself lying on a table inside the ship. She had no idea how she had returned when she had already crossed the gate and entered the other side. She asked the others the same question, and they explained that when she came back through the gate, she was in terrible condition. Unable to walk, the crew had to carry her back to the ship. As they were discussing this, a hologram of their mission leader appeared, questioning Carla about everything she saw inside. Carla told him that she saw a golden city that looked exactly like Jerusalem. She believed that the place was heaven. The mission leader then asked her what else she had seen and who she had met or spoken to. But Carla denied meeting or speaking to anyone. The man didn't believe her. Carla then asked about Sean, who had accompanied her onto the sphere. The crew members informed her that Sean was dead. Shocked, Carla asked how he had died. The mission leader explained that his suit had cracked. But Carla refused to believe it because their suits were unbreakable. One of her teammates then claimed that Sean had failed to properly secure his gloves. This explanation didn't sit well with Carla. Sean was an experienced explorer who had spent more time in space than anyone else. There was no way he would make such a careless mistake. The mission leader dismissed her concerns, telling her that Sean was human and humans make mistakes. He advised her to rest since she was still alive and needed to take care of herself. Carla agreed, but then demanded her suit back, saying she needed to return to the sphere. The mission leader refused, informing her that they had already begun their journey back home. Frustrated, Carla walked away, and one of the crew members followed her. When they reached a spot without cameras, Carla confided in him, revealing that she had seen her family inside the gate. She couldn't share this information openly because she didn't trust Paul or the mission leader. Meanwhile, Paul was shown in another room, agitated and restless, frustrated that he couldn't hear their conversation. In his impatience, he called the crew member who had spoken to Carla and demanded to know what she had said. The crew member lied, saying Carla hadn't revealed anything new. Paul, furious, reminded him that following orders was his duty. Meanwhile, Carla was still struggling to believe Sean's death. Determined to investigate, she took a knife and approached Sean's hibernation pod. Upon opening it, she discovered the truth. Sean hadn't died due to a suit malfunction. He had been shot and murdered. Realizing there had to be a deeper reason behind his killing, Carla decided she needed answers from Paul's room. She sneaked into Paul's room and found a gun along with some documents. As she was reading them, she heard someone behind her. It was the crew member she had spoken to earlier. Expecting him to try and stop her, Carla immediately pointed a gun at him. From the documents, she learned that this crew member, whom she thought was an astronaut, was actually a military officer. Shocked, she demanded to know his true mission. The man admitted that he was in the military, but insisted that he knew nothing about the sphere's true purpose. Holding him at gunpoint, Carla forced him to accompany her to the main deck, where Captain Paul was also present. Now, with a gun pointed directly at Paul, Carla confronted him. Paul was visibly nervous and warned her that she was committing treason, a crime punishable by death. He then admitted, "Just like we killed Sean." At that moment, the truth slipped from Paul's mouth. He had personally killed his own crew member. Carla had initially suspected that the military man was responsible for Sean's death, but now it was clear that their own captain had done it. The situation became extremely critical. Just then, a call came in from their mission head, informing Carla that the video she had transmitted from the sphere had convinced scientists worldwide that she had actually visited heaven. He showed her a video, revealing how, after watching Carla's footage, people from Earth had started heading towards space, believing that they could reach heaven. Carla was stunned, struggling to comprehend what was happening. Before she could react, Paul suddenly lunged at her, snatching the gun from her hands. But Carla wasn't an amateur. She fought back fiercely, managing to overpower Paul and take the gun back. Without giving him a chance to retaliate, she shot him dead. Before she could turn on the other crew member, he begged for his life, promising to tell her the full truth. Carla decided to trust him. He then revealed a shocking truth. Carla had never actually seen what was beyond the sphere. Instead, she had been picked up and brought back to the ship before she could witness anything. She couldn't understand what the sphere truly was, and everything was becoming increasingly confusing. Determined to get answers, she immediately called the mission head and declared that she was going to destroy the sphere because she no longer believed it was safe for humanity. But the mission head immediately tried to stop her, saying, "Let me tell you the truth. That sphere isn't divine. It was created by you." Carla was completely shocked. The mission head continued, explaining that the Earth's population had exceeded 25 billion, while the planet could only sustain 6 billion people. In response, he had planned to eliminate 25 billion people. The spheres were designed as part of this plan, to remove people from Earth, making them believe they were entering heaven. But in reality, they were heading toward their own deaths. The most shocking revelation was that Carla herself had created this entire project. However, her memory had been erased, and a new chip had been implanted in her brain, giving her false memories. The life she remembered was not her real past, but the one she had been programmed to believe. The mission head further explained that he had deliberately sent her into space to enter the sphere and record footage, so the world would believe it was a gateway to heaven. This way, people would willingly leave Earth without bloodshed or resistance. But in reality, they were being sent to their deaths. Carla was horrified. She never wanted to be part of such mass murder. She called the mission head a monster and secretly began planning to destroy the sphere. The military man, now on her side, agreed to help her. But the mission head, realizing Carla's intentions, activated the ship's AI system to trigger self-destruction. His goal was to destroy the ship, killing Carla and anyone else who knew the truth, ensuring that the plan continued as intended. Before the ship could be completely destroyed, Carla shot the hologram projection of the mission head, disabling his communication. She quickly contacted her ally, who had redirected the main ship back toward the sphere. As he approached the smaller ship to rescue her, explosions started erupting throughout the vessel. The ship was rapidly falling apart. Carla managed to reach an escape pod, which was attached to the larger ship, allowing her a chance to survive. She wanted to save her ally as well, but he was trapped inside an elevator moving too slowly. With only 3 minutes before total destruction, the elevator wouldn't reach her escape pod in time. Heartbroken, Carla had no choice but to detach the pod and leave the ship behind. Thinking that her ally had likely perished, Carla felt deeply saddened. But in the very next moment, she received good news. Her partner had managed to board the small ship just in time. Finally, they were heading toward the sphere, determined to destroy it. As soon as they landed, Carla's companion stepped out first to proceed with the destruction. Before Carla could follow, he shut the door behind him and told her, "Go back to Earth. The people inside this sphere will be taken care of by themselves. You need to expose the truth about these ruthless people and save humanity." Carla nodded in agreement and turned her ship toward Earth. The journey back would take her 8 months, but she felt satisfied knowing she was doing the right thing. She was no longer a part of an evil mission, and she had the chance to save humanity. With this, the story comes to an end.